We have a major Toronto Blue Jays trade update as we are now just a few hours away from the trade deadline. Numerous reports have begun to surface revealing Ross Atkins and the Toronto Blue Jays trade deadline plans. So to break down those exact reports and discuss what they entail, because what they have to say may shock you. Stay tuned for all that. And now we are just a few hours away. The Jays have already made some very, very good trades this trade deadline period. They've acquired some really notable prospects. They've really bolstered their MLB prospect system, their pipeline, everything like that. And things are going very, very well. But we have some new reports as we are now just 3.5 to 4 hours away from the deadline, and it is Ross Atkins' last chance to make some final moves. Some reports have revealed some wild things. But before we get into those reports, we have a quick message from our sponsor today, NordVPN. And while it's no secret the Toronto Blue Jays have elite defense this season, it is important that you have elite defense against the harmful threats on the internet, and that can be done using NordVPN. And visit nordvpn.com/Jays to access internet privacy with a single click, even when you're not home. Using public Wi-Fi networks at shopping malls or airports can be very risky, but with NordVPN, your personal data is encrypted, providing a super simple and super easy way to protect yourself from the internet. And one of the best features as well is that sometimes you want to be able to watch TVs and movies that aren't available in your country. I know I've done that tons of times. And if you want to do that, NordVPN can spoof your location and you can watch different content from different countries very, very easily. And that's the best part about it. There's multiple use cases for NordVPN. And also another use case with NordVPN's special threat protection and dark web monitor, you get an extra layer of protection for good measures from unwanted malware on your device. So you'll be notified if your info ends up on the dark web. And the best part about all of this is that you can use our code nordvpn.com/Jays and get exclusive offers. That is nordvpn.com/Jays. So head over there and check them out to access your exclusive offer that includes 4 months free, along with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to you. So thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video, and let's get you back to the content. And thank you to NordVPN again for sponsoring this one. You can check out the link in the pinned comment in the description as well to give it a try. So thank you to them. We have a lot to go over today, and like I said, the trade deadline is really starting to heat up. Let's just dive right into it. So you can see this here, the first report from Jon Morosi this morning, just a couple hours ago. He said the Blue Jays, who exceeded expectations with Yusei Kikuchi on that trade front, are listening to multiple players on deadline day. That includes Chad Green, Trevor Richards, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's currently on a rehab stint with the Buffalo Bison. So we also have an update from Ben Nicholson-Smith that kind of says the opposite. There's some conflicting reports here, which is very interesting. And we're also going to get Peter's thoughts on this kind of whole situation as well. He has an audio clip we're going to tune into. But again, this is interesting because the Jays are hoping to trade Chad Green. At least as fans, we're hoping that Chad Green gets traded. He's having a breakout year, and we're seeing how the market has developed for starting pitchers, for relief pitchers, and the market is clearly a seller's market. One of the biggest seller's markets over the past handful of years for trade deadlines. But we also have this update from Jim Bowden. He says the Orioles, Yankees, and Red Sox are also trying to land relievers such as Mark Leiter Jr., who just got traded to the New York Yankees moments ago, which now leads into the fact that Chad Green could become even more available for teams like the Orioles and the Red Sox now that the Yankees are off the board for Chad Green. So the Orioles and Red Sox now could be big suitors for Chad Green. I suspect the Red Sox to call. I suspect the Orioles, who the Jays play in a few hours, I expect them to call, and a deal could get done there. So it seems like the Chad Green market's heating up. And when you're looking at what you could potentially get back in return for Chad Green, really, really good season. 32 innings pitched. His ERA plus is 244, so 144% better than league average. Obviously a little bit, not inflated, but the bullpen is a bit different, but very, very good. But his ERA is a 1.67, so he is very elite. Obviously not a huge sample size. I mean, he's 32 innings, which is very, very good. Huge sample size in the sense of he was obviously injured last year, injured the year before a little bit last year, and his injuries have been a big kind of question mark for him and how healthy he can stay. But he's been able to stay healthy this season in 32 innings pitched and put up a very respectable ERA. Now, if you look at his advanced stats, they're not quite as good, and that might be scaring off some teams. But, I mean, you have him under control for one more year. He just turned 33. He could really help a contending team going down into the playoff stretch, and that's what Jim Bowden's saying. That's what Jon Morosi is saying. So I think there's a good possibility that a trade like this could get done. But this morning, you had Ben Nicholson-Smith tweet 4 hours ago, as deadline day begins, it sounds like the Blue Jays have very likely made their biggest moves. 5 players for 11 prospects. So, as previously reported, they aren't shopping non-free agents, but Trevor Richards and Kevin Kiermaier, could go before 6 p.m. Eastern. So he's saying that they're not shopping non-controllable players, meaning they're not shopping Chad Green, they're not shopping IKF, because both of those guys have a year left on their deal. And someone followed up with Ben saying, Ben, does that not shopping mean won't trade? Does Chad Green fit into that category? Because it is a good question, because Chad Green has an option next season. And he said, quote, not shopping, end quote, means other teams would most likely have to come to them with offers which they would weigh. But my read from talking to people is the current expectation is that Chad Green stays. But then this was countered by Morosi and Bowden saying that they're definitely listening to their offers. So it's a very interesting thing. I'll dive into IKF in a minute, but I will let you quickly listen to Peter's thoughts on this, because he has some interesting things to say, and it's going to be very interesting what happens. And here's Peter's thoughts on the potential of a big trade coming, or maybe lack thereof. So I'll let you listen here.
So it seemed as though the Blue Jays were going to go into full teardown mode after all the trades that they've been making, and considering the market that we've seen as well. But now it seems as though, according to multiple reports, that they've shifted, and I don't necessarily know if that's the right call. I don't think that's the right call, because even if you keep some of the players that are going to be around in 2025, I still think this team is a ways away from competing. But what you can do is to keep stockpiling those assets and position yourself to get that big fish that might push you over the hump. Now the Blue Jays, their top 30 prospects look totally different, and that's because of the trades that they've made, and I feel like they have the potential to do so much more and add. So I've been very happy with the way that the deadline has gone. An A-plus deadline, in my opinion, but I still believe that more can be done, and I still believe that they can milk every last prospect available on the market, because Chad Green has a ton of value to a contender, as does Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So the Blue Jays need to be savvy and not give them up for nothing. But at the same time, those are replaceable players, and they are someone that you can go about replacing in the offseason and get similar production for similar price tags as well. So I see that, and I think the Blue Jays should still try to test the market. I don't know if they're necessarily shutting anything down, but it's kind of disappointing that this might be it for their deadline, even though it has been a really good one.
So obviously, yeah, some interesting things to say there. I tend to agree with them. I think that Ross Atkins ultimately should look to get a big move like this done. I think that, not a big move, but I think Chad Green should go. We've seen the seller's market. We've heard some things on Chris Bassett, but if what Ben Nicholson-Smith says is true, then it's at a very interesting part now, because why are you keeping guys when you know it's a seller's market? You're keeping Chad Green, you're keeping IKF, you're maybe keeping, Trevor Richards, but I'd be fine with letting Trevor Richards and Kiermaier go. You're not going to get much of them anyway, but you're keeping these guys, and IKF's having a breakout year. Maybe they think that his value, and IKF I'm not super keen on trading anyway, because I know his value could be, it's at his peak hitting-wise. He's having the best hitting season of his career up until he got injured, but you have him for another year, and he's a very good clubhouse guy, very good fielder. But the Jays have gotten so many prospects back that spots need to begin to open up, and whether or not the Jays have room is up to them, even though IKF is only 29 years. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. But again, we'll keep you up to date, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys soon.